Welcome to Ask Cadence, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading and listening to us today. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm sitting around the table with John Patton.
Hello,
John.
Pete.
And Scott Lissit. Welcome to the table again.
Hi, Pete. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, sir. We have I think it's a very interesting topic today. It's sort of a broad question, John. I'll tell you where my understanding of it, and you can fill in the blanks here. The whole concept is portfolio management in a tight economy. Executives have to manage their portfolio of projects across the organization as they deal with staffing changes, potential layoffs, operations scaling, and when operations scale, you have to deal with not having as much funding to fund new projects. What can we tell our listeners about how they can manage their portfolio smartly and help the organization weather tough times in terms of their projects?
Well, Pete, we really are talking today to the portfolio managers who may be the head of a project management office, or it may be an executive who's responsible, or a team of executives who are responsible for the projects and programs in our company. That's what we call the portfolio. And let's say that orders are going down, and we know we have to reduce the operation. With the reduction in force in the operation, then our costs are getting aligned with the revenues that are coming in, and we have to ask this first question then, which is how much money, that is profit, how much money will be left over to invest in projects and programs during the year? And so what we recommend, first of all, is that we set a time period. The portfolio manager with the executive says, well, how long is this difficult period going to last? And then what, in this really tough decision of who to lay off, you have to look at the talent in the organization and say, what talent must we preserve so that we're not at a competitive disadvantage when the economy starts to turn around? So you know you're going to have to lay some people off. You want to keep the best during this time period. Because if they hit the streets, even though they're tremendously loyal to the company, the chances are they won't be coming back to ours. So that's number one. Then number two is to re-examine the whole portfolio. Now, this is rationalize every project and program in it against the key strategies and the core business of the company. What will give us best benefit in this difficult time, which could increase sales? What must be maintained long-term to keep us viable as a business? For example, once I read in the Wall Street Journal of a front page, a company shutting down its research facility. Not a good move. You don't put the whole development activity on the block. So what are we going to keep? Once we have our list of projects, then prioritizing them becomes very, very important, and resource loading them. And as you resource load the projects, there will be a point where you run out of resources, and that becomes the portfolio for the next year, 6 months, 2 years, whatever time period you project is going to be this period of lean times.
Can you help me understand why you mentioned that you do the layoff sort of staffing planning before you do the project prioritization? What's the rationale in that?
I really didn't mean to imply any sequence, Pete,
okay.
Because we have to look at all those together. Mm-hmm. And looking at the projects that are underway, how close they are to completion, what kind of impact they'll have on the market. There are just a number of factors. Usually when we look at a list, there are from 7 to 10 factors on the list that will influence your decisions.
And what we're really trying to do here, if I'm hearing you right, John, is to determine what is the capacity of the organization. Maybe at a lower level now than just a few months ago or a year ago. And to match the size of the workforce with the project list and look in order of priority and draw that capacity line somewhere saying these are the high priority projects we can afford to do now and that we can staff appropriately now, because what we don't want to do is try to do too many projects at the same time with a reduced staff level, because that will result in projects that just don't get done because they don't have a sufficient number of team members to get the work done. And in those cases, it may be just better to say we will defer a project or two or three or more until a later period of time, and let's pick our highest priority ones, staff them appropriately, get them done successfully, reassess the economic situation, and then see which projects we want to take on after that.
And that's how you end up having your project management environment, your portfolio management environment, driving your strategic plan for the organization through these hard times, yes?
Yes. If you lay off the people and don't lay off the projects, everything will grind to a halt, guaranteed. And I just remember so clearly a meeting I had when I was consulting to a major Fortune 100 organization where they had gone through a force reduction, and this guy said, I spent the whole weekend thinking about how work was going to be piling up on my desk because they laid a member of our department off, but they didn't cut any of the work. And I came in early, and then I was told I had to come to this meeting, which is a new project. And he just went over the top. But he was right on. It is an executive responsibility to make tough decisions and determine really what must continue to the business.
I know we talked that this was we said early on that we were really focused on the executive, the team focused on managing the portfolios. But what if you are a project manager in this environment? What is your responsibility to your project and your team that may be affected by layoff?
Well, let's assume that your project is still on the list, but you've lost half your team members. The first responsibility you have is to communicate back to management the impact of that loss of team members. What will we be able to do? What will we not be able to do? And a recommendation. Can the project continue at the current resource level? And then let's also assume here that there's a priority list. Where does your project lie on that priority list? Can you go to the bottom of the list and take resources from the lowest project on the list that's active, or is your project the last one on the list? Should you really be trying to place your project on hold and place key team members on projects that have higher priority so that in the context of the whole company, the company can do well? I mean, you're thinking like a company manager as a project manager when you're behaving that way. There will always be work for you as a project manager.
And there may be cases where you can stretch out the project. So you can stretch the schedule out and get the work done with fewer people and take a longer amount of time to finish it. And there may be cases where that's acceptable, when the project is in alignment with corporate objectives, but there is not a sense of urgency to get it done immediately. And the fear is that if you shut it down, you'll lose some critical momentum, and that's not a good option either.
This has been a great discussion, gents. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And please listen to us next week. Download again. This has been Ask Cadence.